Good afternoon, everybody, and thanks for your time today. I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which we are located on today, the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation, as well as the traditional owners of the many lands that you are all on across today for this webinar. I pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging, and any Aboriginal Torres Strait Islanders who may be tuning in today. In light of the recent world events, Ys across the world have come together to reaffirm our support and commitment to people of colour, and in Australia in particular to our Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander communities. We have renewed this commitment in acknowledgement that systematic inequality, exclusion and discrimination continues to exist, and we call on our communities and government alike to work together for a more just world. In this week's update, it is jam-packed as usual, as there are many moving parts occurring at the Y right now. I'm joined by Nathan, Nick and Peter in what feels like a time where good news is really needed. Nick and Peter are going to share some very exciting updates. But first, I'm going to take you through the current status update regarding government restrictions and the COVID testing process for staff. For those of us in Victoria, it's been another really tough week. Victoria has recorded double-digit COVID cases every day for more than 2 weeks straight now. Many of these cases have been traced to known outbreaks, which are located in what you may have heard now as hot zone areas. On Tuesday this week, the Premier, Daniel Andrews, announced that 36 suburbs within 10 postcodes are in these hot zones and will be returning to stage 3 restrictions beginning midnight yesterday until the 29th of July. These suburbs are displayed on the screen and they are currently included in the stage 3 restrictions. So just for clarity, stage 3 restrictions are those that we experienced in May. Specifically, it means there are only 4 reasons that if you live in these suburbs or you go to these suburbs, you can do. And that is purchase food and supplies, medical care, exercise, and work or education. Wherever you can, you should do these things as close to your home as possible. And if you live outside these locations, you are only allowed to do those same 4 things if you come into those communities. If you live in a restricted postcode, you cannot visit friends and family who live in another household or have visitors or have visitors at your home. The exception to this is if you are providing caregiving or visiting for compassionate reasons, or providing a service from a work perspective. For the Y, this has meant that we've had to close the Faulkner Leisure Centre and unfortunately cancel the planned reopenings for Rec West, Footscray, which was planned to reopen yesterday. We've also had to delay the openings for Oak Park and Coburg. Brunswick Baths and Macy Heights Adult Disability Day Service are located just 1 server away from hot zones, and they will remain open but on high alert. Staff who've been working at these sites, I've mentioned, will be communicated with directly by their manager, and unfortunately, some will be stood down during the closures in these hot zone areas. This announcement is a stark reminder that we're still in a pandemic and we cannot be complacent. The virus will continue to spread and we will need to be careful and if we are not careful and compliant. We must all be vigilant and make a conscious effort to social distance and remind others to do the same. For instance, it means no hugging and kissing for our family and friends and in our homes. If you go to a restaurant and people aren't social distancing, just don't go in. And I know, look, while this is really upsetting and frustrating for all of us, and particularly all of us who are doing the right thing day in, day out, the government will continue to take the necessary measures to protect the community, and we really have to respect these hard decisions. Now, it's really important that we all get tested for COVID-19 if we have symptoms or have been in contact with someone with COVID-19. And we will support you, the Y will support you through this process. If you do test positive, that's okay. It's better that we know. The important thing is that we continue to be vigilant and responsible so we can minimise the spread. If you get because you are showing symptoms or you come into contact with someone with COVID-19, you cannot return to work until you get a negative test result. If you're getting tested but not showing symptoms, you can return to work as per the government's health advice. On the screen is an example of what a negative result will look like. And I've got to say, my daughter did receive this. At first it was a little confusing, and that's why we're showing you exactly what it looks like in terms of getting a negative result. It's a text message, and it means that you don't have coronavirus. If your test comes back positive and you do have coronavirus, this information will be communicated to you over the phone. At that point, you'll need to immediately let your manager know, and you'll be required to self-isolate for at least 14 days. If you can't return to work because of coronavirus, either because you're awaiting test results or you do have COVID-19, you may be eligible to access your sick leave, so please check with your manager in regards to this. If you don't have any sick leave remaining, the government have provided a hardship fund for financial support. You'll need to apply through Centrelink to receive this. So if this is the position that you're in, please reach out to the People and Culture team for assistance in applying. I do have to say there was a confirmed case of a student at Aitken Hill Primary School this week, which is co-located with Craigieburn West YMCA Early Learning Centre and the outside school hours care that we run. We have followed our 7-step process for a confirmed case and did close this service. It will receive a deep COVID clean tomorrow, and all staff members have been requested to get a COVID-19 test. We expect the service to be reopened again on Monday. I want to provide a quick update following on last week's announcement around the reviewing of roles within our shared service and recreation and the subsequent redundancies that occurred. I want to assure you that the people affected are being supported one-on-one by the People and Culture team. To be clear, these staff members have been given the option to undergo redeployment or we'll work to try to find another suitable role for them at the Y if they've chosen redeployment process. We are aware that the message last week that redundancies were occurring can cause feelings of uncertainty, and I know some staff have expressed this. So please reach out to your P&C team if you'd like to speak to someone, and also remember that you and your immediate family have access to our Employee Assistance Program. I know I've mentioned it many times, but it's a really great service that provides a whole suite of options for you, including confidential counselling and support for financial concerns as well. And if you don't, and actually you don't have to speak to someone over the phone, they also offer email and online chat service as well, if that's something you're more comfortable with. So I'm now going to hand over to Nathan for a restart update and the staff and volunteer access card. Nathan.
Thanks, Carolyn. Our Kingsholm sites in New South Wales and Queensland have been able to open and since opening have experienced huge customer demand, with approximately 80% of families already returning. This is also reflected in the demand for our recreation services in Victoria, seen through our online booking system. We've experienced high booking numbers and very few no-shows. Since reopening, I'm pleased to report that we have been able to stand up a number of staff. The number of staff who have remained working full-time or were on reduced hours through March was around 520, and this number now has increased to over 1,750. As time goes on, this number will continue to increase as restrictions ease further. I know that many of you are waiting in anticipation for restrictions to ease so that more people can return to work. For those of you who are stood down, we want to let you know that we haven't forgotten you, and we want to assure you that we are working towards welcoming you back. We continue to work closely with the Prime Minister's office to work through a support package for recreation and the community sport industry which is inclusive of recreation, king swim and camping. This would either extend JobKeeper or create a special industry package. While we cannot provide any further updates on this, we want you to know that we are really trying hard to secure further government support for you. The reasons we are highlighting the strong customer demand we are currently experiencing is to assure you that when restrictions do ease further, we anticipate the demand for our services will continue and we will be able to stand up even more people. Currently, our centres that are open are using an online pay-as-you-go booking system for customers. Many members have expressed their desire to reinstate their memberships at this time, which is fantastic. Last week, we presented our council partners the YMCA's proposal to reinstate memberships. We propose to do this in a 3-stage process. We have started with the pay-as-you-go model, which is the current status quo as phase 1. Phase 2 would be an opt-in membership, term-based customer acceptance of restrictions and limitations. And phase 3 would be to notify and reactivate memberships with an option to continue suspension once we are back to pre-COVID operations. Unfortunately, at this stage, we don't have dates of when the next 2 phases will occur, but as soon as we can develop and implement technology needed for those members who wish to reinstate their memberships, we will move on to phase 2. Onto the staff and volunteer card. I'd like to provide an update on the staff and volunteer access card expiry extension. As you're aware, staff and volunteers must currently pay to use our recreation facilities while the current restrictions are in place. This week we moved into a new financial year, and normally this would mean that our staff and volunteer access card would have been posted out with a new expiry date for the following year. Given the current situation that we're in, the executive team have decided to extend the expiry date until 31 December this year, meaning your existing card will remain valid. Although these cards cannot currently be used or are not accepted at the centre, we wanted to provide this update so you're aware that staff and volunteer access cards have not been forgotten, and when we are in a position to do so, we will develop and distribute new ones. I understand during this time, some of you may have signed up for the Les Mills On Demand service a few months ago. You will have now received an email letting you know that your free access to the premium service has now come to an end for the Y. The good news is that the virtual Y platform has a great quantity and quality of online fitness classes for you to join daily. If you haven't already, please register at virtually.ymca.org.au to gain access to this exciting new service many Y staff and volunteers have been involved in building and delivering. Peter will talk to you more about Virtual Y shortly. And I'll now hand over to Peter to share some exciting news.
Great, thanks Nathan. Hi everyone. On behalf of Brendan and the camping team, I am absolutely thrilled to be able to announce today that we've been successful in securing the long-term management, the contract for Sport and Rec Victoria campsites until 2041. These campsites are the Anglesea Rec Camp, Camp Manyang, Howman's Gap Alpine Centre, Lady Northcote Rec Camp and Mount Ev Rec Camp as well.
Oh, it's over to me. I failed to ring the bell, so you're supposed to ring the bell. Yay! We won this tender. And well done. And who would have thought that we would win a tender for nearly 21 years? It's absolutely amazing, Peter. Well done. And the whole team, the whole camping team. Back over to you.
Thanks, Carolyn. Just so everyone knows, when we win a tender in at Box Hill, there's a bell that gets rung. So we thought we would try and replicate that. But yeah. As some of you may know, the Y have a really long history in camping with hundreds of camps worldwide. And within Australia, we've got 15 campsites. Here at YVic, we've got over 90 years experience in residential camping. To give you a bit of context, last year alone, our 7 camps hosted 82,000 campers. That's 82,000 young people and community groups who in just 1 year have had the opportunity to experience the great outdoors, get active, learn new skills, challenge themselves, and of course, develop new friendships. As part of this, again, in the last 12 months, we taught 16,000 children how to ride a bike, 4,500 received water safety training, and many other physical literacy and life skills. Being the successful tenderer for these campsites with SRV means that for the next, to be specific, 20.9 years, the Y will generate nearly $322 million in revenue to provide more than 70,000 campers the opportunity to participate in over 1.4 million activities and interactions each year. There's some really significant numbers, and this is such an amazing outcome for our organisation. While we're still impacted by COVID-19, we do still have all of our campsites closed. However, we're working as hard as we can and obviously want to have them back up and running as soon as we can. In the meantime, though, we haven't just closed the gates. The team have instead taken the expertise and passion and created a lot of digital camping programs that are now being delivered online through Virtual Y. So whether we can physically have the gates open or not, camping programs are here to stay for a long time. We're really excited about what this means for our organisations and for the camping industry. We're looking forward to making a positive impact on the broader community and continuing to deliver outcomes of active, healthier and more connected communities. I'd really like to take the opportunity to thank and congratulate Brendan Smith, Greg Mason, Emma Hoppy and Wade McCrell, for their extraordinary work in putting together such a professional and compelling tender. And of course, the entire camps team who have worked so hard, both to support the tender process, but also for having delivered such a remarkable camping program for so many years that Sport and Rec simply couldn't say no to us. And this has ensured that the Y are the standout provider for such an important service to our communities. I think it's safe to say we have known for a very long time the Y is absolutely the best provider of camping programs in our communities. The awarding of this tender, 20.9 years is the maximum period that any government agency is able to award a tender. So it's the maximum term possible. And I think that in itself really does say that the Victorian government clearly support us in our view that we are the very best when it comes to this. If you do get a chance, please reach out to any of the camping team and congratulate them on what is a really very significant win for the Y. Just before I hand over to Nick, on some other really positive news, Nathan touched on Virtual Y. I just thought I'd give a bit of an update on how we've progressed this week. Another very exciting week. We've got new content online. We've got fitness on demand. So as well as the live fitness programming that Nathan mentioned, you can also access our fitness classes anytime, anywhere. So there's really no excuse. This week, we've also finalised our evaluation framework, which means that registrants will soon be asked to provide feedback and participate in various surveys to help us demonstrate the impact we're having, while also helping us to evolve the content to ensure its ongoing relevance. This data is really key to us being able to seek ongoing funding and support for our great work. So I really encourage you, if you haven't registered, register. And if you have, when you receive questions and surveys, please take a few minutes to complete it for us. It's all anonymous and it will really help us make sure we've got it well positioned. We've also now finally had the grant funds hit our bank. That took a little while and obviously we progressed work in the meantime, but we were thrilled to have that. And we've also commenced discussions with other YMCA associations across Australia and our global networks, as well as other potential external funding partners so that we can take this well beyond the current funding period. Rather than listen to me talk anymore, we thought we'd show you our latest teaser video. Thanks for the team for putting this together. It's a bit of a compilation of some of the content and program we've been delivering so far. Great, thanks, Sonia. Before I hand over to Nick, who has some more great news to share, just a quick reminder, we're always on the lookout for more presenters and for people to help us to deliver content. If you're interested, even if you just want to have a discussion to understand more, it is a paid opportunity, so please go to the emergency.ymca.org.au website and submit your expression of interest. Over to you, Nick.
Thanks, Peter. That's huge news. Congrats to the teams. Hi, everybody. My name is Nick Buskins. I'm the National Events and Programs Manager for YMCA Action Sports. My role within the Y is to work with governments, YMCAs and other like-minded organisations to form partnerships so we can get more people accessing YMCA programs. Now, about 8 months ago, I met with Jim Boyle. Jim's our camp manager down on the Mornington Peninsula there, Camp Manyang, and we discussed his relationship with the local William Warren Aboriginal Association. Jim expressed a real eagerness to support them to provide educational, spiritual and recreational experiences that reconnects Aboriginal young people to country and culture. So as I do, I went off to see if I could raise some funds to make this happen. And I was informed last week the YMCA received a grant from the Federal Government Department of Health to fund 8 camps and a series of 30 ongoing recreation programs for Aboriginal young people back in their communities. A key part of this project is our Aboriginal partner organisations, such as the William Warren Aboriginal Association. They will be delivering a large portion of our programming, providing opportunities for partnerships to meet Aboriginal elders and learn more about culture, the land. The Y will provide recreational camping activities, healthy food, and all the stuff that comes with our great camps. The funding will engage over 320 Aboriginal young people across Camp Manyang, Anglesea, Halmans Gap, and Lady Northcote. As part of the camping program, the YMCA Action Sports team will deliver a variety of family fun days and active recreation sessions so that the young people that attend the camps can reconnect back in community and we can really reinforce those relationships, connection to culture. As Carolyn mentioned, the Y is committed to supporting Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander communities. At a time where there's heightened pressure from community organisations to do so, the Y believes this is one way we can use our position to have a positive impact. This funding also means that the 38 Action Sports staff that was stood down have some really exciting and meaningful work to come back to shortly. The other positive news I have is that our Action Sports teams, we've seen a massive rise in our local government partners seeking to come back on board with our programs, and we'll be opening up our programs in South Australia and Tasmania in September. Thanks for that. Back to you, Carolyn.
Better go on out of unmute. Well done, Nick. That's just absolutely fantastic. And how incredibly exciting is the news on SRV tender? Yeah, just absolutely incredible. As you know, as I started off, the Y is really committed to taking a pragmatic approach to addressing systematic inequality and discrimination, particularly that is experienced by Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander community. And our YMCA camps have worked so hard to establish and maintain relationships with local Aboriginal elders and their communities, to learn from them and learn about the lands that our camp are located on. I'm sure as Nick was talking, you all felt and took yourself to a camp, perhaps in your youth or whatever, and remembered that amazing experience. And it's just so delightful that that's what we're going to be able to do for these young Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. So, and fantastic for our staff as well. So yeah, look, I think lastly, it's just a lovely example of intergenerational leadership. So now I'm going to move to Q&A. I don't have a great deal of time, but there isn't as many questions as normal. I will say that, and I do apologise, I did dismiss a question, but only because it had been asked about 3 or 4 times. So if I do that, please rest assured that I will ask the question. It's just that I'm trying to make the process a little easier for me. So this question is just to confirm whether we will have a staff wage increase in the next financial year. And what I did want to say about that is I can't say yes or no as yet. The reason being is that we are working on it. Government didn't come out with the amounts, which is 1.75% across the modern awards until it was about 10 days ago. And it's really quite complicated. So there is different timings depending on the different industries. So we are making a determination, a governance determination on that in the next week. So it should be by next Friday that you will get that, the answer with regard to that for our staff. So please be patient with us while we work through it. Normally that information is given to us much earlier and we're able to work through it earlier. Okay, so with some centres opening up the doors in the last few weeks, how are the centres managing in this COVID-safe economy? Peter Gillies, I'm going to give that one to you. Macy Heights, for example, how are you going?
Off mute helps. Thanks, Carolyn. Look, it's a challenge. I think it presents challenges for our staff and for our participants. Certainly, if I talk about our program at Macy Heights, you know, we've worked really hard to make sure that we can continue service there for our participants, but we also have to, you know, balance out if we've got some participants from or staff from impacted suburbs and some that are not, do they even still want to continue coming? How do we make those decisions around whether we do, what we do keep doing and what we don't? So what I would say, and I'm sure it's the same in recreation, the flexibility of the centre managers and support staff in actually looking at the various options is fantastic, and it's a lot of work for them every time these announcements are made to sort of scramble and understand what it means for us. But what I've found really positive is the feedback that we've been receiving around how grateful the community is that we have put so much work and effort into our COVID safe strategy and commitments, and that they can really see that we're really demonstrating best practice when it comes to keeping them and of course our staff safe as well. So it's certainly a challenge. I don't think we can underestimate that. I think everyone's doing the absolute best they can, and I think it's something where we need to all make sure that we're touching base with our colleagues as much as we can to make sure that they're going along okay and coping in such time of ongoing change and uncertainty. But on the whole, I think the team's doing a great job and the community's really, really responsive and grateful for the fantastic COVID safe work we're doing.
Fantastic, Peter, and I absolutely agree. I did attend as a customer Ashburton last week to do yoga, and honestly the centre was just pristine. So, and I do understand that everybody, I just happen to have seen Ashburton, as I don't want to obviously go from site to site in the event that, you know, heaven forbid I did have coronavirus, that would just be terrible. So we are minimising that site to site, but my heart is absolutely with you. And I have seen Ashburton, and I've seen pictures of the amazing work that you've all been doing. And so here I've got Michelle said, great work. So well done. And to Peter, Kate Burns said, a huge congratulations to the camps team on the tender. This is such exciting news. Everyone in youth service is stoked. Congratulations, team. I've got to say, we are absolutely stoked as well. So now this is a question. I'm a staff member from Craigieburn West. At the time of testing, I was told to self-isolate until I received my results. If I haven't received my results by Monday, will I still be required to go to work on Monday? Okay, so look, this one's a bit of a tricky one. As I talked about, you unfortunately at Craigieburn West, you have been in direct contact with somebody with COVID-19. And so our preference absolutely is that you get a test or self-isolate, obviously. And we do hope that you will receive your results by Monday, but if you haven't received them by Sunday, please, and will be a text, and they do work on the weekend because that's when my daughter got her test results. Please let your manager know, and we'll work through it with you. There's another question about creches opening. At this stage, creches aren't reopening. Obviously, we're going to work through that in line with all the reopenings of our various centres. And I will have to say, unfortunately, this situation that we're in Victoria is slowing these things down. So I don't have any update for you with regard to that. Okay, so another one, this is the best news ever, Peter, from all of us at Youth Services. We're beaming ear to ear. We're so happy that you got to deliver such fantastic news. Congratulations, camping and everyone. You know, camping is absolutely one of our core mission activities, so we are so delighted to have it back open. All right, I've got, hi there, when will King's Swim reopen? Look, we're still working through that. We have reopened the other King's Swims, as Nathan talked about. Unfortunately, and some of our King's Swims are reopening in the second week from a vacation, from an intensive swim program, and we're getting some demand with regard to that. So we are looking at how we can reopen those King's Swim big centres. And even just before I was on the phone with Amanda Locke, who's going to be calling SRV with regard to some updates that we're hoping to get in terms of having more than just 20 people in a pool. So, still got King Swim. Every King Swim family I speak to in Canberra are really looking forward to returning, as I am. Is there a big uptake in other states? Yeah, so what we have seen is that when we have been able to open swimming lessons in other states, such as King Swim in Canberra, New South Wales and Queensland, we have seen around about 80% of our families return to us straight away. So there is demand, which is fantastic. I will say in Victoria, the demand is a little bit dampened, but you know, that's a school holiday program, so you might expect that. This one's a question, how long will you let us know in advance in regards to when King Swim will open? So if we require anybody to come back to work under the JobKeeper directions, we have to give 3 days notice. So that is how much notice you'll get, but obviously we are trying to give, given we are more in control of it, more notice than that. So people will tend to have got at least a week, but 3 days is the minimum. When will school camps reopen, please? Peter?
As soon as possible. So at the moment, it is possible for camps to start reopening, but of course we need to make sure that customers are ready to come back. So we're doing a lot of work at the moment around contacting campers that have bookings in and just seeing how they're feeling about how soon they are looking to come back, and of course reassuring them around our COVID safety strategies and what we've got in place to keep them safe. We have each of the camping teams at each site have been doing a sensational job in making those contacts and starting to understand when it's looking like we'll start to have the volume of people coming back into our campsites. What we have seen though, even just this week with the spike in COVID cases, is that even some that said last week, yes, this week are perhaps not as confident. So it's a bit of a watch this space at the moment, but be assured as soon as we can announce those openings. At the moment, we are still hoping that from the beginning of term 3 that we're starting to have camping back in all of our sites in some way, but we do need to watch how things unfold over the next little while and the impact that has on preparedness for people to come back to campsites, even once it is okay for them to come back to the site.
Thanks, Peter. This is a nice tip. Educators, teachers and people who work with children can mention their profession to get their COVID test results fast-tracked. I received mine within 2 days when I mentioned I work with children at the time of the test. So, hot tip, well done. Look, thanks everybody for tuning in this afternoon. It was jam-packed full of information. I hope it was useful and inspiring to you. We'll send up a follow email to summarise the key points for those who couldn't make it, and of course a video of this. Thanks for joining me, and we'll see you next week. Cheers.